Yes, AI is a good thing for doing the thing that I already know how to do just way faster. It's the same logic with calculators and doing math with a pencil and paper. My children will all learn how to do math with a pencil and paper.
Hmm.
My children will all learn how to research things properly, how to ask a question to be answered in a paper. Those are all things that they will learn. Those are all things that I know how to do. And before you rely on a piece of technology to do something for you, it really ought to be something that you know how to do, or at least that you know the basics of what needs to be done, especially when it's something like mathematics. You need to be able to come to the conclusion that 2 and 2 is 4 on your own before you start relying on a calculator to do things. And a lot of times the argument for that is like, well, when am I going to need to use it in paper to do that kind of thing on paper? Because it's so unlikely that I'm going to be without a calculator. I don't care how unlikely it is that you're going to be without a calculator, especially if you can get good at doing math in your head. You can actually do it faster than you could do it on the calculator. Sometimes you can solve the problem faster than you could type it in on a calculator, depending on what it is. Again, because it is a tool, it is an assistant. I could use a rock to hammer the nail in to the board, but if I use an actual hammer, it's going to be a lot faster. The tool that
Exactly.
was designed for that thing. So if and when I ask the question, okay, what books are going to be safe? For one thing, we're going to be looking at books that my wife and I remember from our childhood,
Hmm.
which is what we do with television already. We remember shows from our childhood that we really liked. This is why streaming services are actually a really good thing. And then we go with those. And we screen them just to make sure that we're not remembering something, or there was something in it that we didn't understand that we don't want our children to be exposed to. We screen that ourselves, and then we give a yay or nay. The reason that I don't necessarily trust AI to recommend things for my children for me completely, and why I would probably just skip the AI step and go around talking to people that I already know, and particularly people that have children and have children that are probably a little bit older than mine and have been through that already, is because there are very small, nuanced decisions and maybe nuanced critiques that I might have with a particular thing just because I'm me. And I kind of have an idea of how I would react at that age or how my wife would react at that age. Or if there are just some things that don't sit right with me about it, even though AI may come back with an answer that is technically a correct answer to my question, if I am then watching something or reading something and I'm like, I don't know, something about this just doesn't sit right, I think we probably ought to just leave it alone. AI can't do that.
No, it
Again,
can't.
because that's conscience, that's concupiscence. No, not concupiscence, that's conscience, which is attached to the human soul. But that's something that some friends of mine might be able to do. So if I go and ask somebody, hey, what did you think of this book or this movie or this show? And they say, well, I liked it up until a certain point, and then it started getting really weird. So maybe just don't. Even if it's something that the AI would have said, oh, yeah, fully gung ho on it.
Hmm.
And then there are other things that AI might have been okay with, and even some of our friends might be okay with, that my wife and I just hear and then immediately go, no, just on principle for what the thing is, even though it technically meets the criteria.
Hmm. You note that I listed in my example that you use it as a starting point for precisely these types of conversations and questions.
See, the thing is that I personally, my wife and I would just skip it as a starting point. The
And
only
I say
reason that
that's
I would
perfectly
use
fine. Yeah.
AI for that particular purpose is if I somehow needed that list now. And I can't imagine any circumstance in which I need a list of what books and movies and shows are okay for my, we'll just say she's 6, what books and movies and shows are okay for my 6-year-old daughter, I don't see why I need the answer to that question immediately, and why it's somehow not okay for me to figure that out by tonight or tomorrow night.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a pet peeve of mine. It's a frustration of mine just with modern society. Like, not everything has to be done right now. Not every answer has to be gotten right now. Because you can go and Google what caused the First World War and then have its little AI give you, oh, it was the shooting of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. Or you can ask the informed question of what were some of the social, economic, political, and possibly moral and possibly religious circumstances that led to the sparking of the First World War, which, by the way, is something AI can't answer because that is far too complex. At least it can't as it stands right now. Maybe it can in the future, but by the time that it can, when you have had AI do that for you, instead of going out and researching that yourself, you have actually just robbed yourself of something.
But maybe to your horror that I'll correct you and say that it can do that right now.
Okay,
The
then I'm
quality of it,
horrified.
the quality of its answer will be dependent on a number of things, the model and its data set, in short. So I'm not going to say it'll give you a good answer, but
Either way,
it will give you an answer.
if you ask it to answer an informed, intelligent question for you, and we'll say that it does. We'll say that it gives the best possible answer. Even if it gives the best possible answer, you have just robbed yourself of something. Well, but look, I got it in like 10 minutes. I don't care. What you have just robbed yourself of is the work and the effort that you have put in poring over books and resources and past opinions, comparing them, contrasting them with one another, and then coming to your own conclusion and putting that last period on the page yourself. You have just robbed yourself of something by taking the work out of it. Which is why I don't like a society. I don't like that society thinks everything has to happen now. Give it to me now. Like, people complain if their internet is, if it takes a second and a half for an episode of Friends to buffer, and people completely lose their minds. Personally, I think AI is going to make that worse in some cases.
Oh, it absolutely will. No question about that.
Because now it's like, well, I can ask a question and then here's the answer. It gives me an answer in 12 seconds. Or it writes an essay for me in 12 seconds. And then if you compare it with robotics, which they're starting to do, maybe it can build a bridge for me in a day. Because this bridge building robot has done that. But you have taken the work and the satisfaction out of it. At the very least is what you have done. You pair it with robotics and you put a canvas in front of it and a paintbrush in its hand and tell it to paint something reminiscent of Caravaggio's Call of Matthew. Okay, it might do that, but you have robbed yourself of the work of creating the art. And you have robbed potentially somebody else of the work of creating that art. Because just because you told AI to do something and it does it, that does not make you the expert. That does not make you the artist. If I ask an artist, if I put these two things together, if I say, all right, well, let's just say that there's this AI that creates art, that creates imagery, and then there's this human artist. I see you smirking because
I couldn't resist it based
I'm
after the
not
last
letting this
episode.
go.
I
I'm
could
not
not
letting this
resist it
go.
after the last episode. You said AI could create art.
I said
Then
AI could not create art.
you just did, and then rephrased it to imagery. So I couldn't resist a smirk at
I
that.
misspoke because I don't think it's art.
Anyway.
You have this AI that creates an imagery, and you have a human being, an artist, who has worked and practiced and trained himself and is a master. Taking the quality of the work out, or we'll even say that he is maybe beginner to intermediate level.
Mm-hmm.
Taking the quality of it out, and the artist is willing to work for you for free. By the way, we'll put that in so that The only difference, and you give them both the same prompt. You say, paint me a picture of Niagara Falls. AI comes back in 4 seconds with a picture of Niagara Falls, with an image of Niagara Falls or some simulated painting of Niagara Falls.
Mm-hmm.
Takes the artist a couple of hours. He looks at some pictures of Niagara Falls. He picks an angle. He finds the one that he thinks is best. Maybe he goes to Google Earth, looks at it from street views and from different angles and from above and all that. What he has created is art, and what the AI has created is not. And this is the counter to your argument that you, for putting the prompt in, are the artist, because AI has just taken the work out of it that it takes an artist to do. If I have a robot that can build a building for me and I tell it to build a building, I'm not a construction worker. The robot is. And if I have told this AI and this artist to paint me a picture of Niagara Falls, and the AI paints me a picture of Niagara Falls, and the artist paints me a picture of Niagara Falls, I will always choose, even if it might be visually inferior, I will always choose what the artist did, because it has the touch of the human hand. And
Mm-hmm.
again, that is why I say AI art is not art, because art must be true, good, and beautiful. AI art is not true, because it is a simulation. At the best, it is artificial.
I'm going to leave the AI art discussion for the side. There's a video coming out. Well, it will already be out by the time you see this. Go watch that. Give it another view. Give it 2 more views.
Give it 17 more views.
Yes, give it all the views. And like and subscribe.
And
But
I'm
I
still
want to
right.
return to one of your earlier points, because AI should not replace the work of the research.
No.
AI should not replace the work of the math, or rather, it should not replace your ability to do the research and to do the math. It should not replace your ability to do the task if the task is worth doing. But that then lends itself to another point, which is the task worth doing, or is the task worth automating? And that's a value judgment in each circumstance that ought to just be made prudently.